I spent 6 months picking a game design for MrBeast, featuring 3 full game modes and a boss. But how do we go from this?
It's a pretty cool game.
Would you say it's an improvement?
I would.
To this. Well, it all started with one message I sent to my friend. Make a MrBeast game. Quick, simple, and I'll get a great video out of it all, right? I started up Unity with high hopes. Ready to bring my idea to life, I made MrBeast the main character. Now, for what I had in mind, this should have been a quick little project that I could get done in about 2 weeks, but I may have been a bit too ambitious. Anyway, first up are cars that want to run you over. So I whipped up a nice little car spray and added some smoke puffs at the back of them just to get that carbon footprint really going. And now you can jump over oncoming cars, have no regard for you being on the street, just like in MrBeast videos. Money. Well, it's what we need our MrBeast over here to collect on the streets, because what else would make people jump over cars but sweet old money? But what kind of place has money on the streets and cars trying to run you over? Because personally, that's what I like to call a city. So I did just that and made this map a city. To do this, I added this parallax background with these skyscrapers where basically this image is moved from one side of the screen to the other. And after it goes off the screen, it's placed back in front, which makes it so that you can basically endlessly walk. But there is already an issue with this all. I was already 2 weeks in, and this was all I had. Every time I tried to focus, I would succeed for a little bit until inevitably something pulled me away. A notification, mindlessly scrolling through social media, and that dangerous mindset of just one more video. My motivation was plunging down for this project, and I had already been well past my 2-week deadline of finishing. Now, even though I wasn't working on the project much, I got into a call with some game dev friends for advice on what to do. And after some back and forth, they finally convinced me that I needed to add more. That I needed to go further into a project than I had ever gone before if I really wanted to make it good. And I wanted to make it good. So I doubled down. I decided to make this game have 3 game modes and an entire boss. And although this would make the game better, my original envisionment of the project was drifting further and further away. Now, I keep mentioning how I write to-do lists for this game, so while I plan out what's next for the game, I thought I'd go deeper into that process. For nearly all of the planning for this game, I've been using the sponsor of today's video, Notion, to write lists and charts on what to add, and honestly, it's been extremely helpful. And yes, I actually used Notion before they sponsored me. In fact, I literally reached out to them to sponsor me because I just genuinely think that it's a pretty good tool. You can basically plan out whatever you want with it. If you're one of those freaks who makes massive multi-page layouts and plannings detailing about how you're gonna make your bed, then you can do that. If you're like me and get confused way too easily, then you can make the most basic to-do lists imaginable. I mean, like, you could just see the creativity flowing through this thing, right? But it's not just simple to-do list and multi-dimensional Excel money tracking spreadsheets. You can use Notion for just whatever skill you've been saying you're gonna learn but haven't even attempted in years. For me, I made a simple ideas board for video ideas and a plan to upload more often. Let's be honest, that's probably not gonna work, but Notion increases the probability of me actually doing it because I wrote it down, like there's something telling me to actually do it now. If it's your thing, you can write some daily entries about whatever you did. Reflect back on your life and make the most of every day by focusing on the positives. But I am way too lazy to do any of that. I would rather just put all those feelings in a bottle. You can do that if you want, on mobile. And if you happen to be lucky enough to have some friends, you can even share projects with others and work on them together. As you can imagine, I don't get to use this feature too often. Oh yeah, Notion is completely free to start using too, so sign up now with the first link in the description if you think it's cool. Please use that link too, because it shows Notion that I'm not like inept when it comes to advertising. Anyways, thanks to Notion for sponsoring this video, and look at that, my to-do list is done. The idea for this next level is that you have a limited amount of time to collect $25 hidden in the ground. Sort of like Dig Dug, but really, really scuffed. First off, I made a shovel so that you can, dig. Now, the easiest way I could have a system for this dirt to be dug is if it was manually placed as different objects and the dirt is just destroyed when clicked on. But I quickly realized that this would be actual hell to do. So I tried making a tile map instead. If you didn't know, a tile map makes it so that you can just paint on squares like this. It's a lot easier until you actually want to destroy a single tile. I don't know why, but I just couldn't figure it out. I tried switching back to manually placing the dirt again, went back to the tile maps again, still couldn't figure it out, was slowly losing patience, gave up for a little bit to make a timer system, went back to try to get it to work, finally found a forum where someone had the working code for it. I got it working, but by this point, I couldn't take it anymore. This game that was supposed to be only a small project was getting out of hand. I could see this month I spent working on the game easily turning into 2 months, 3 months. I don't think I wanted that. Throughout making this entire game, I had been sucked into social media, sitting there for hours on end, watching something new pop on screen every millisecond, watching helplessly as my attention and time was snatched right away in front of my eyes. I wanted something real, something creative. If I had to watch one more giant structure be handed to a YouTuber again, I think I might have just lost it. But there's no wonder why everyone's doing it. It's what works. I know, because I do the same thing. Constantly I'm thinking, what else could I throw up on screen to keep people watching? To get that retention line as straight as a level. I can make my logo to a character. I could animate my logo. I could turn it into a 3D model and rig it with animations. Yeah, that'll keep people engaged. That'll keep people watching. That'll make my videos good. But that's not how it works. I realized that even though I thought it was, that's not what makes a video good. And the way I was heading with this MrBeast video was the exact opposite of what I wanted. I needed to change, but I already sunk so much time into this project that I would feel guilty if I just quit. I would feel bad if I threw something together just to get it done. I was stuck. I thought about just raising the white flags and just surrendering. And eventually, that's exactly what I did. For 3 months. I couldn't tell you what caused me to start working on the game again. I guess I just snapped, cracked under the slowly building pressure like a volcano. If you look closely at it for even a second, it is not worth it to spend 5 months on a game that barely anyone will play or care about. But I didn't care. I was going to finish this game, and I was going to finish it soon. It all boiled down to one reason. If I quit the project, that means I not only wasted time, but I failed myself. I failed the goals I set for myself. And I just couldn't sit with that contently. So I wrote a checklist to finish the game once and for all, and got to work. For this next level, you move on the x-axis back and forth and dodge these questions you're being asked. I added this green question which gives you 1 score, and I added this red question which kills you, or more realistically, your reputation. After that, I added this brick background which was supposed to be like that classic podcast background, but I don't really know how I feel about it. I also put in a little table with some mics on them, and last but not least, Colin and Samir, who, if you didn't know, interview a lot of big YouTubers, including MrBeast. But the game is feeling a bit bland at the moment, so I added the super question mark. It's a question mark that gives you 2 score, but at the risk of hitting either one of these red question marks on both ends of it. And it did actually make the game a little bit more fun, so hey, I guess I'm doing something right. And finally, to top it off, I popped in these mystery questions, and yeah, they do pretty much what you think. You either gain 3 score or lose 2 score. A bit of a gamble. Now we just polish up everything a little bit and we've got ourselves a fully complete level. But the downside was that this took nearly a month to complete. I could have been mad about this, but this level was actually somewhat fun. Not the most fun thing in the world, but still a little bit fun. And I think that's when I realized what making games is really about. That feeling of having fun playing something you created is satisfying on another level. I had just never gotten that far into a project to really experience that. Nonetheless, I had to continue because I wanted to get this project done and dusted. So I finally set a solid deadline for myself. Basically, I had a week off from school coming up and I didn't want to spend it working on the MrBeast game, so I set the goal to finish the game before the break. And yeah, the break was in 2 weeks. So I would give myself a week to finish up some missing things in the game, and the other week to make the entire boss. It would be a tight fit, but I've already been working on this game for 5 months. What's 2 weeks? I spent that first week fixing up all the levels and adding some more to them. I added this power up to the Dig Dug level you can collect to break a bunch of dirt around you, and these flying bricks you have to dodge in the city level. Again, most of this week was spent polishing up levels and just making them feel complete. I have to admit, it was a bit rushed, but everything was done. There was only one thing left to add. The boss. It needed to be simple and achievable to make in a week. So I jotted down a quick list of things I wanted to have and got to work. Now, we needed to model the boss to fit the YouTube theme I had going, so I made YouTube itself be the boss. First up, we have the idle stage, which is exactly as it sounds. The boss just sits there and is extremely susceptible to damage. The next stage is the shock stage, where the boss sort of idles but has a wave that grows and shrinks, so you want to make sure to stay out of its way. And finally, we have the attack stage. This is where the boss shoots out all kinds of horrific things like demonetization and notifications. Like, man, if I were you, I would not want to get demonetized. And yeah, that was pretty much it for the actual boss. For the player, I just slapped in the same MrBeast from the city level, but with one minor tweak. a gun. And not any ordinary gun, a money gun. To shoot at YouTube until eventually you buy it. You know, you see what I did there? You know, like, you buy companies with money. Never mind. But look at this cool health bar I made. It's got that YouTube theme to it with it being a little progress bar. The boss is just a little bit too hard for some people though.
No!
So I gave MrBeast over here 3 lives, so everyone who plays the game just doesn't baby rage.
What?
I also did this sweet little screen shake effect when you take damage, and dang, it is freaking clean. After that, I made the boss switch states depending on its health. And finally, this sick win animation where boom boom, the boss explodes, and yeah, you on YouTube. Finally, I added the boss fight to this clean YouTube homepage I made, and I was done. But I didn't feel done. The game still wasn't actually good. It wasn't that fun. Sure, there's some parts here and there that were kind of fun, but I just spent 6 months on this project, and it wasn't even good. I felt defeated. It was like this project got the best of me every single time. That 6 months felt wasted. Because of the project, I hadn't posted in almost 4 months, and my channel was declining because of it. I thought I would finally feel accomplished after finishing the game, but I didn't. Until I took a step back, went back to my old videos and old games, and that's when it clicked. I had improved. I had improved so much. Sure, the game wasn't a masterpiece, but when you compare it to what I had made before, it honestly is. And I understood that those 6 months I spent on this game weren't a waste. It was me learning, me improving. It just didn't go how I thought it would. And by this point, whether or not MrBeast even saw this game, it didn't matter to me. Now, I could have added more to the game. I could have made it better. But would it have ever ended? Because if there's one thing this game has taught me, there's no such thing as enough.